Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our live startup draft coverage in our Skidmarks Dynasty League. Yes, we are right in the middle of round 7. We're going to get rolling right away. The Birdman had the 103 pick. I selected, I think I had the third or fourth option, and I went ahead and grabbed the 103 pick. The 101 was off the board. The 110 was off the board. And yes, then I grabbed the 103 pick. So you can look right up top here. I grabbed Lamar Jackson with the 103 after Josh Allen went 101. 102 was Josh Daniels, 103 Lamar Jackson. Now, this is a 12-team start 10 lineup league, Superflex, tight end premium, 0.75 tight end premium to add a little spice to the mix, making some more tight ends relevant in this league. Also, full point per first down, rushing and receiving, 0.2 points per passing first down. And it is only a 4-point per touchdown pass league. So that adds to the wide receiver and running back values a little bit. It just really pumps up a lot of people in the depth of this league, makes more players relevant in trading. And so just had DK Metcalf come off the board to that was to Steve S. taking DK there at the 706. We're on to the Fantasy Reaper at the 707. As you can see here, we're in the middle of the 7th round. Dak Prescott just went at the 705. Matthew Golden right before him at 704. Jordan Addison at 703. Bryce Young and Justin Fields, 2 quarterbacks, go right before them, so you can get an idea of where we are at here. I'll bring it up. Let me just drop this down. Then you can see the whole draft board that way out there. There we are. So you can see the quarterbacks 4 in a row there. It was going to get interesting as to when the 5th quarterback, in my opinion. No shock that Hurts went 4th. Then it gets little interesting there with Chase and Burrow, which way to go. Justin there at the 105 decided to go with Jamar Chase. Burrow went to the Reaper right away at 106. Then Bijan Robinson at the 107 to Steve S. Then we had a couple of receivers go. The second and third ones off the board. Justin Jefferson to Troy at 108, then Mark NLS2K24 takes Malik Neighbors right in front of our boy Matt English, who was totally pissed at that, I'm sure. He settled for Ashton Jeanty, taking him ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs. I did a short yesterday on the top 3 running backs in Dynasty right now, Bijan, Gibbs, and Jeanty, and I said I would go Bijan first amongst those 3, but I didn't talk about who to take second and third. Matt, I did a little discussion with earlier today, and he went Jeanty just based off of age and the fact that Gibbs still, of course, has David Montgomery in that backfield to snipe a few touches away from Gibbs. Obviously, that hasn't hurt Gibbs too much thus far, but I mean, when you look at Jeanty and pretty much owning the whole Raiders backfield, it's hard to argue against that. So personally, I think you're good with either of them. They're basically both awesome. So it's just a decision to want to go running back, essentially. Then Brock Bowers went at the 112 to Brandon for the brand there. And he went with CeeDee Lamb as well, back-to-back there, Bowers and Lamb at the turn. Grid FE followed up his Gibbs pick with another Lion, Amon-Ra, at the 202. Then Matt English Followed up his Genty pick with Puka Nacua, and then Mark grabbed Patrick Mahomes. So you can see the slide of Patrick Mahomes, obviously for years going in the top 5 of Dynasty leagues. This year, not so much. I've seen him go, as high as maybe pick 6 right after Burrow, but I don't know anybody taking him ahead of Burrow right now. But yeah, you can see the fall of Mahomes. Obviously, it depends on the type of league. Like if you're in a 14 or 16 man league, I can see Mahomes going higher. But right now, he's hanging out with the Justin Herbert tier, if you will. Now, the other quarterbacks, Trey McBride went there at 205 to Troy. So the 2 tight ends with the 0.75 tight end premium, both going in the top 17 of this draft. Then Herbert followed that up. Brian Thomas, Saquon, Nico Collins. I went Drake London then. I had a tough choice. Basically, it was between London and then going with one of the quarterbacks in the next tier, which basically is Stroud, Nix, Caleb Williams, and Drake May. Those were the 4 that I was looking at. I would have been happy with literally any of those 4, but looking at the receivers, this is 3rd round reversal, mind you, so I didn't want to wait until basically what you see there. I would have ended up with JSN or AJ Brown, probably, maybe Garrett Wilson as my top wide receiver had I waited all the way to the 310, unless I traded up. So yeah, I wanted to snap up some good wide receivers before it got late into the 5th, 6th, 7th round territory. And so I was able to grab London. Let me highlight my picks here. So I grabbed London, then followed it up with JSN. So if you go around the board here, London, then it went 3rd round reversal. So I took JSN, and on the way back, grabbed Garrett Wilson, who was sort of in his own tier, not his own tier, but in that same tier. Rashee Rice would have been an option as well. Garrett Wilson a little safer, but Rashee Rice could easily outproduce him this season. So then after Wilson went, it followed up this way and got to the turn, and McCaffrey went. And then with this format being 0.2 per carry, I really wanted to get one hammer. You only have to start one running back, though. So I decided to go and make a move up to get Derrick Henry. I had to give up. So I got the 5th and 6th rounders from Matt English. He grabbed my 5th and 6th rounders, and I had to give up my 26th second, getting back a 26th fourth in return. So I don't think it was too bad of a move, because Henry just, is miles ahead of the next guys if you're looking at running back from a 1-year perspective, really, because Henry, at his age, obviously could start hitting the cliff at any point, but in reality, I just think that Henry is just going to keep going until he decides to hang it up, and that's the bet I'm making here. So I grabbed Henry, and then on the way back, Michael Penix, which is where it got interesting. It was tough for me to decide, but Jared Goff going the pick before, I felt like there would be a run on quarterbacks before I was able to pick again at 7-10, and sure enough, that run happened. I don't know if any of these, if I bring up this list here, I don't know if, between Fields, Bryce Young, and Dak, you have Justin here picking at 708. I don't know that one of those quarterbacks makes it all the way back to me at 710, so I think I did the right thing by taking Penix. I really wanted Justin Fields in this format, but Brandon grabs him there. Now, Fields is so interesting with the 0.2 per carry, but obviously, who knows how long what kind of leash he has there. Now, he signed a 2-year contract. we'll see how well he does. You know, he played 6 games last year, a monster in fantasy in those 6 games, but then he got benched in Pittsburgh. He doesn't have Russell Wilson, though, hanging behind him with the Jets, so this ought to be interesting to see what happens with Justin Fields. So, anybody in the chat have any questions? Feel free to ask. Just go ahead, hit the like and subscribe if you're following along here. Anybody in the league following along, by all means, you're welcome to hit the like and subscribe and message me in the chat any questions. Now, let me see who's up here. After DK went to Steve, just double checking. Yes, the Reaper is still on the clock here. So, this has been kind of exhausting here. We fired this up just last night, so it's been quite the run to get into the 7th round already in a matter of 24 hours. But yeah, there's my squad. I started off quarterback and then ripped off 3 wide receivers. So for my team build, as I said, you only have to start 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, tight end, 4 flex, 2 of which can be tight ends. I don't see anybody starting more than 3 tight ends a week. So we did 4 flexes and then, of course, a super flex. So that makes 10 starters. So in reality, I can start 2 plus 4, 6 wide receivers. I guess 7 if you want to count the super flex, but really 6 wide receivers. So either 5 or 6 is a number I want to definitely get to at wide receiver here. But again, with the 0.2 per carry, it makes it interesting with the running backs as well. Right now it gets to that range where you debate back and forth. Do you want to go youth? Do you want to go old? Myself going with Derrick Henry, I've kind of sort of committed myself to a win now team, you could say, but who knows how long Henry's going to play for. I mean, I think the dude can play another 2 or 3 years. I got the backfield, the Ravens backfield stack there, so every carry from Baltimore pretty much I'm going to get 0.2 points for with Lamar and Derrick Henry there. This should be fun. Yeah, and I feel pretty good with my core of wide receivers. I snapped up Penix here in the 6th round. Penix doesn't run so much. I'm not really counting on him doing that, but with the 0.2 points per first down throwing, I think he's going to be slinging it a lot. You know, they do have Bijan, but it depends on how many games that are winning, really, as far as how many carries Bijan gets per week. I know that Penix can sling it if they have to. And he's still only 25 years old, mind you, even though that really is only a year younger than Jalen Hurts. Wild to think about it, right? Jalen Hurts going into his 6th year as a starter, and now Penix only going into his 2nd year as a starter, and they're only a year apart. It's wild to think about. All right, so if we go ahead and bring up the draft board, DK just went off the board. All of the really decent QB2s have now just been drafted. I mean, there's a few left. Let me bring this back up here, and I'll slide this down this way. There we go. So you can see the bottom part of the draft as well as who's available on the board. See the two tight ends there, Colston Loveland and TJ Hawkinson on top of the sleeper ADP board. But if we go down, you see Joe Mixon, George Pickens. I don't know how far I want to go down here. Tyreek, J-Mo, Jalen Waddle, Kamara, Mike Evans, Montgomery, Jerry Jeudy, and then we move on down. Ayuk is sitting there. So still some Jackson Dart, still some borderline first-round rookies available in Colson Loveland and Jackson Dart, but plenty of good point-scoring veterans here as well. So it'll be interesting to see the dynamic between going old versus young here. As I said, I just drafted Derrick Henry, so I kind of shown my cards already. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not picking again for 3 picks here. And don't have a tight end. It's 0.75 tight end premium. We'll see if one of these 2 tight ends falls here, and that makes me decide on one of them. Kincaid, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts are still there. At quarterback, if I wanted to hoard the quarterback position, I could go any route there with Dart, Tua, Darnold, even A-Rich. And at running back, then we've got some solid veterans in Mixon, Kamara, Montgomery, and Pacheco. Then you get Cam Scatterbo. And at wide receiver, the top 5 are George Pickens, Tyreek, J-Mo, Waddle. So both Dolphins receivers showing up there. Mike Evans, and I believe probably Chris Godwin. Next, let me see if I can slide down. It won't. There we go. I can find that. Here's the slider. After Evans, we've got Jerry Jeudy, Luther Burden, Brandon Ayuk, Jaden Higgins, Pearsall, and Devontae Adams. Okay, so yeah, all right. So there we go, and we're just waiting on the Reaper. Looks like he's in the draft room, so he should be picking shortly. Then Brandon will be up. He is in the draft room as well. Steven is in the draft room, and I'm here. So these next 4 could get rattled off pretty quickly here. I'm going to go ahead and throw my pick on the block. There it is. Jalen Waddle goes. I'm going to put the 7-10 on the block. I'll see what offer I get. At this point in the draft, it never hurts to test the waters on what you might get. Somebody might have an inkling for a guy. Right now, I see a lot of players that I'm interested in. So, I mean, I don't have any definite conviction on anybody right now. There's probably, 10 different guys I'd be happy with. But I don't know that I want to trade down too far out of this range at the same time. Because within the next couple of rounds, there becomes a steep drop-off in production. So, yeah, we'll see what becomes of it if I get any offer. Waddle goes right now, so that takes another wide receiver out of my options. A younger one, mind you. Like I said, there's very decent veterans available in this range, but it all depends how old you want to go. I mean, I already got Derrick Henry. I don't want to stack up my team too much in the older players, because then you have just a huge crash in production when they all retire at the same time, and then you're stuck with a massive rebuild, and that's just an awful position to put yourself in. So I'd love to stay with some producing younger player if I can, but who knows? So, before the brand is on the clock now. All right. So if we start looking at some of the other team builds, I don't know. I know that one team in particular, and that's Troy, has done a pretty decent job of hoarding the running back position. Let's bring his team up here. Okay. So I'll drop this down. Here we go. There we are. So get a good look. He has not made a trade yet, but he started the draft with Jefferson, then went McBride. So real solid receiving core to start with, right? But then he rattled off 4 straight running backs and leaned into the 0.2 per carry format, grabbing Bucky, Kyron Williams, Chase Brown, and then Chuba Hubbard right before all of the quarterbacks. I guess, Chuba was the surprising pick there with all those quarterbacks on the board, but I get it, leaning into the position. I think he just got caught up in the run at running back that had just happened with KW3, Caleb Johnson, and RJ Harvey going. He didn't want to miss out, but as you can see, no more running backs have gone since then. And mind you, he's still got Dak on the way back, so it's not all that terrible. Like, he probably looked at the quarterbacks, saw a few teams there with 2 quarterbacks already, but then decided to grab a quarterback on the way back. Now, Grid FE here has leaned into the quarterback position for sure, grabbing Bo Nix in the 3rd, Jordan Love in the 4th, and then Tyler Warren, Chris Olave, and now grabbing Bryce Young as his 3rd quarterback just a couple picks ago. So he is definitely leaned into the quarterback position. Now we've got Brandon on the clock here at the 708 pick. And so he's made some moves. Started off with Bowers and Lamb at the turn 1-2 turn. Then grabbed Achane, and then finally got his first quarterback at the turn, the 4-5 turn, grabbing Trevor Lawrence. Then went Christian McCaffrey, and that was the first. When McCaffrey or Henry go, that's your first real indication that a team is, I don't want to say going all in, but really going towards the win now assets. Like, it doesn't start. I mean, I'm not saying you can't draft any rookies after that, but you're really going after points. And that's what he did then with his next pick in Justin Fields. Justin Fields, definitely a 1-year asset. You can't buy into him lasting any more than just 1 year. His contract could run out. Like, the Jets have an out, and they definitely could look to go draft another quarterback after this season, depending on how Fields does. Now, obviously, if he does well, it's going to be a very worthwhile contract for them, because they only it's 2 years, $20 million. So, like, that's pretty cheap for quarterback. About as cheap as you can get for a starting quarterback now in today's game. So we'll see which direction Brandon decides to go. He really could go any position with the 0.75 tight end premium. Could decide to go that way. He's got 2 running backs, just 1 wide receiver on the squad so far. So maybe he decides to go that route. We'll see. Let me see if anybody else has overloaded one position. Not really. So kind of surprising. Nobody has really overloaded a position. Let's see where Matt English is at with his squad. He's made, I believe, 3 trades so far, been the most active of the trades. Um, so he started off with Genti and Puka, like we talked about. Then he moved up 2 picks, giving up a second rounder to grab CJ Stroud. Interesting move there. I was surprised. But he got his second rounder back when he made the move with myself so I could grab Derrick Henry. He didn't get his second back, but he got a second back in the 26th draft. Then he went ahead and grabbed J.J. McCarthy at the 410, so he solidified his QB room there with Stroud and McCarthy. McCarthy, a little, whatever you want to say about it, but I mean, with those weapons there, I can't see him not doing well. I don't know if he'll finish top 10, but it's a very likely possibility there that McCarthy does finish at least top 15, if not top 10. All right, and then with the pick that he got from myself, he took Roma Dunze. Then he went ahead and moved back, and this was one of the most interesting moves so far. Boss here grabbed his normal picks, then took Xavier Worthy on the way back, took Caleb Johnson, then for some reason really wanted Terry McLaurin and gave up a first rounder to get Matt English's pick that he had gotten from myself. So the 603 and the 903 he got, and in return gave up his 7th and 8th rounders, but gave up a whole first rounder, his 26th first, to do so. I think that was a little drastic, just to get the stack. Like, I love getting stacks, but I love getting them when they are like presented to you, not where you've got to go way out of your way to attain it. If it's very minimal, yeah, I'll make a trade up for it in certain situations, but this was just too much of an overpay, in my opinion. But hey, he got his stack, and now he will live with it. Maybe McLaurin, if McLaurin puts up another top 10 season, it's possibly worth it. We'll see what Matt English is able to grab here, though, with the 7-11 and 802 picks. I think there's still plenty good players available. Like, I mean, if Matt English wants to grab, Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or Devontae Adams with any of those picks, that pretty much equals what Terry McLaurin is in my mind, because I'm not buying into McLaurin expecting him to get 13 touchdowns again. He had good reception totals, but just over 1,000 yards. So, like, if he only puts up 6 or 7 touchdowns this year, well, he's not going to be finishing top 10 then. He's going to be finishing more around, like, wide receiver 20, which is still good, but not something I'm blowing future first on when you're getting equal value with the draft picks alone. So, yeah, Matt English came out on that one, unless he totally bombs these picks. I don't know. I don't see that happening, but who knows? Right, Matt? You can go ahead and bomb them. I'm all for it. Let's see if Matt's going to be able to join us or not. All right. So, yeah, Justin on the clock. No, he's not. It's Brandon. That's right. I keep thinking it's Justin's because that was his pick initially. All right. So Justin here, who made the trade out of this, moved up to get Ibuka, and then got an 11th back. In return, he gave for the brand his next 2 picks. Seems a little steep. He did get a 3rd on top in return. So I mean, he moved down from the 805 to the 1111 to move up 8 spots. I mean, that's 12, 24, 36, minus 29 picks back, 8 up, gained a third. I mean, I guess if he wanted to make sure he was getting young, staying young, which he did. I mean, he's basically buying into future years. Odd, though, that he's got Saquon and then doing that. Saquon is one of the first picks you could make. I know I mentioned McCaffrey and Henry, but Saquon's another pick, and you basically have to draft him here, anywhere near the mid to late second, maybe early third is where Barkley's going right now. Once you grab him, though, like you're not grabbing Saquon Barkley and trying to push it out a year or two, right? Like you grab Saquon, you're trying to win now. Okay, unless you get him at like insane value in like the late third, right? To where you can draft him and then maybe look to flip him somewhere before the season starts or in the first month of the season. So maybe that's what Justin ends up doing. I don't know. Who knows what guys he ends up getting here. DJ Moore is a solid win now piece. I'm not saying Travion and Ibuka are terrible picks. It's just they're both rookies, and we don't know how well they'll do this first year. Like Henderson definitely has the ability to take over the New England backfield completely. And Ibuka definitely with, just one injury between Evans or Godwin, and Ibuka could really step it up this year and get to 1,000 yards and a decent amount of touchdowns. So who knows? I mean, I love the Ibuka pick now for Tampa because it means our future at wide receiver is looking pretty solid. So we won't have a drop off there. It's great for Baker. Yeah, I don't hate it at all. Now, Baker, to mention him, somebody that I was eyeing up but didn't pull the trigger on when I took Garrett Wilson. I see Baker is kind of in his own tier, right? Maybe he's with Kyler, okay? But Baker, with his point scoring ability, I just put him like ahead of McCarthy, Love, Trevor Lawrence, those guys because of his pure point scoring. Like Baker finished top 5 in almost every format last year. These guys, McCarthy, Love, and Lawrence, they don't run enough for that to happen. Kyler does, so Kyler going ahead of Baker is totally understandable there, especially when Fossbus was doing it to get the stack. I understand that part of it, but so the Reaper looking pretty solid, I'll say. Joe Burrow, Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, Baker, Quinshon Judkins, George Kittle, and Jalen Waddle. So here is a team that I don't mind Quinshon Judkins as your main running back, even though he's just a rookie. He's definitely, in my opinion, the RB1 in Cleveland. Dylan Sampson should have a role, but Judkins is going to be the main guy out of the gate there. And then he added the 5th tight end off the board here. Yeah, George Kittle, big point producer. Obviously leaning more towards the win now aspect, but that doesn't mean that he can't grab a couple younger tight ends later. All right. So, yeah, still waiting on Brandon to make his selection, hoping to do so before I head out of here. But just looking at some of the team builds makes it interesting. CD, Velasquez, Carlos here. Really build with more of an even build so far, getting Josh Allen, then going Amarian Hampton, A.J. Brown, Ted McMillan, Cam Ward, then Kenny Walker. So interesting picks with A.J. Brown and maybe Ken Walker. I mean, Walker's still on his rookie contract, but A.J. Brown's a little older, so little surprising there, I guess. Maybe it would have gone Garrett Wilson just to be a little younger, but anytime you get Josh Allen, I'm all for going win now. And Tet won't be terrible out of the gate at all. He's going to be getting the work there in Carolina. So more of a middling team build right now. I don't know about Cam Ward, but when you look at the other options at quarterback, it's not like, it's not like he reached on Cam Ward. So you can't really hate on the pick. He's going to be starting week 1. He's going to be scoring points for you. Let's see some of the other builds here. Steven RBD, who will be on the clock next. Got a couple nice quarterbacks in Hurts and Purdy. Then wide receivers looking decent in Nico, Devonta Smith, and Zay Flowers. And Breece Hall at running back. So pretty even build there so far. Now, interesting one with Justin. We went over that already. Just Drake May at quarterback. So does he, with his next pick, it's not until round 9 now. So he's got to wait a while. And that's where it was interesting with the Ibuka trade. You would have thought that he was trading up to assure himself he was getting one of these 3 quarterbacks, but he didn't. And so now he can definitely build up a quarterback room. Like, there's other starting quarterbacks out there. He doesn't need to panic. So, but again, who knows? He's not picking for another 24 picks here. Went over the Reaper. Let's go over to Steve's team. He took Bijan in the first round, then back-to-back quarterbacks and Herbert and Caleb. Then grabbed Jonathan Taylor, a good pick there in the 4th in this format. T. Higgins, then R.J. Harvey, and then DK Metcalf. So I like this build in this format. He's strong at running back, getting plenty of carries there with Bijan, JT, and R.J. Harvey, hopefully. And then Higgins and Metcalf are not bad options at wide receiver. Troy SC, we already went over him and his running back horde he did there through round 3 through 6. NLS2K, who stole Neighbors on Matt English in the first round, followed it up with Mahomes. Pretty good value there, I'd say, in the second round. With the passing volume that the Chiefs do, Mahomes is always going to be solid. He may not have had the greatest stats the last few years, but one of these years, again, he's going to blow up. You know it. Then he went with Travis Hunter and then Rashee Rice. So he's got the Mahomes-Rice stack. Very solid, in my opinion. James Cook, not my favorite running back, but you know what? He's going to score points. I don't know. Would I have gone with one of the rookies over him? Maybe. Chase Brown, do I like over Cook? Maybe. Right? They're all kind of in the same tier. Like, I took Henry for a reason. Like, he's going to be a beast. But then you got Cook, Chase Brown, Judkins, Henderson, Kenny Walker, Caleb Johnson, R.J. Harvey, they're all kind of similar to me. And so Mark just grabbed the top one to make sure he got a running back. Could he have traded back? I guess. He could have played the game. But he just went ahead and grabbed James Cook. Then he's got Jared Goff and now Matthew Golden at wide receiver. So four strong at wide receiver, 2 of which are rookies. But regardless, a pretty relatively young team to build on with some good point scorers here. It really comes down to, how many points can Travis Hunter get you in his rookie season, and how good is Matthew Golden? Those are the wild cards on his team right now, at least. Matt English, we already went over. Grid FE with the semi-quarterback horde. Not really, but... And we went over for the brand as well, who is sitting on the clock and I'm hoping makes his pick here shortly so I can go ahead and make my pick while we're drafting here. Again, here's my squad. We're sitting on Oh, I've got the 2 quarterbacks now, the stack with Penix and London that I'm making a bet on here. JSN, Garrett Wilson, and the one and only Derrick Henry. I'm gonna try and text Brandon here so he makes his pick. Any questions out there in the chat? Let me double check here. Not yet. Who do you guys out there think Brandon should take? Anybody listening right now? Here's his squad. He's got another pick on the way back, and then his picks at the 8-12, 9-1, and 10-12. So he's got a plethora of picks here coming up. 4 picks in the next 12 and 9, 21. So 4 out of the next 21 picks are Brandon's. That's pretty strong. And so he could build some solid depth in his starting lineup. All right. So I think Brandon should be joining. There he is. All right. And he says he just got home from work. All right, well, make your pick. No. We've got a 4-hour clock. That's pretty much what we've been rolling with in most of my drafts. Yeah, it gives plenty of time to go through your work day, take a break, and make your selection when you can, as well as give you plenty of time to negotiate any trades. Now, we've got live on Sunday, we're going to be doing a live draft, 5 minutes per pick for the first 10-ish rounds, anyway, from 6 p.m. Central Time to 10 p.m. We're going to be running it with a 5-minute clock, 5 minutes only. So we're going to have to make trades ahead of time if you want to set yourself up. Otherwise, make like one solid offer and boom, it's either good enough or guys making their pick. We just want to try and see how that works out. Should be interesting anyway, but that'll be live Sunday night, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe if you find this helpful. Ask any questions in the chat if you're following along right now. Matt says he will not be able to join us tonight, but that's all good. He did a show with us earlier today, so I understand. But yeah, we're looking at, let's bring up the board here and what's available for Brandon. Slide down. He's got Bowers. 2 tight ends are on top of the board, though. He could look to sort of corner the position. He's got CeeDee, Achane, and McCaffrey. Then his 2 QBs in Lawrence and Fields. So probably comes down to what he sees as the most depth out there in the next 21 picks, really, with having the 707, 805, and then 812 and 901 here coming up. There it is, TJ Hockenson. So he decides to lean into the 0.75 tight end premium. TJ Hockenson off the board. And so now he's got Bowers and Hockenson, 2 strong tight ends there for Brandon. All right, now Steven is on the clock. Steven is looking at, let's bring his squad up. And then I'm going to be up. So interesting here. Okay, so Steven with a pretty even build so far for the most part. Doesn't look strong at receiver for sure. In Nico, Devonta, and Zay Flowers. Just Brees Hall in the backfield, but then Hurts and Purdy. Devonta is stacked up with Jalen Hurts there, so a nice looking build so far for Steven. Let's see which route he decides to go. And then I'll go over my options, which I'll have 2 of the next 6 picks. Matt English with 2 with the 7-11 and 802 right before my next pick at the 803. And then Carlos Cide Velasquez with 2 picks back-to-back there at the 7-8 turn. All right. Steven could go literally any which way here. I'm not going to tell him which route to do. This is a pretty flat tier, I'd say. This is the range pretty much every year in our dynasty startups. Round 6 through 10, you get this area where you've got point producing vets versus young upstart players. And this is where if you hit on a young upstart player that the following year becomes a, say, round 3 or 4 startup player, that could be a major bump for you. Like, look at some of the guys that are in rounds 3 and 4, for instance, right? Lad McConkey, JSN, those guys were all in that range last year, so those are big hits. All right. Jamison Williams went, so he's leaning into the wide receiver. Okay. Which route do I want to go? Let's bring the board up here, and we'll discuss with y'all out there. Anybody want to make the pick out there for me? I don't know if I want to allow you guys to do that. Oh, let's see what we got here. Okay. So Colston Loveland is sitting on top of the board. But okay. Bring up my rankings just to check it out. Because literally, right, I should be going off of my own dynasty rankings, right? Okay. I mean, it's a startup draft. You really just want to be drafting for value. Basically why I picked Penix over the other quarterbacks. If I'm taking the value, I did a tight end +1, but I just don't I really don't love Colston Loveland in that situation there. Boy. It's some high-end value sitting there, though. I'll say that. Jackson Dart. Interesting options, to say the least. Okay, let me look at my opponents and try and decipher which route I think they will go before I make my selection, because you got 2 guys picking back-to-back, so Matt English sitting on 2 quarterbacks, 3 wideouts, and a single running back. And then Carlos is sitting on 2 running backs, 2 wideouts. So the odds are more that I'd say that a running back gets selected. All right. Decided I'm just going to go Joe Mixon. I've already grabbed Henry. Matt is a Texans fan, so could see that happening. All right. Now, we'll wait and see Matt's selections. All right. Because then we can get okay, so Matt is up here. Then we got Carlos. Let's let him know. And I'll be right back. All right, here we go. So we're still waiting on Matt to select. I think he wants me to give away who he wants to take, or who I want him to take. Okay, so Foss wants to make some magic here. We'll see what he decides to try and do. Oh, CD, there we go. Carlos is in the house. Let's go, Matty boy. What's up here? All right, so back to Matt English. Take a look at his squad to see what is available or what he might be leaning towards. Again, he went Genty to start with. That's his only running back. Then Puka, Rome, and Addison, along with Stroud and McCarthy. So a relatively young crew there. I mean, the oldest player, Puka. So I got to think he's going to be looking young here. And if so, there he is. Matt just showed up in the room. So if we're looking young, Loveland is young. Pickens is young. Kamara and Mike Evans just don't really fit the squad. Now, will it let me scroll down here? It's really tough to scroll on this. Jackson Dart, a definite possibility. He doesn't have neighbors, but Dart definitely somebody that he likes. Scattaboo Young. Man, if this was... Okay, there we go. Scattaboo, Jaden Higgins would be a nice target as a stack with Stroud. Let's see here. Interesting proposal here. Okay. Ricky Pearsall is the pick. Not surprised there. Okay, so now we're on CD Velasquez. Carlos with the big decision. Carlos is sitting on Carlos has Josh Allen and Cam Ward at quarterback, Marion Hampton and Kenneth Walker at running back, A.J. Brown and Tet McMillan at receiver, and that is it. So pretty even team build so far for Carlos. Let's see which route he decides to go. Again, let's bring up the board. We are looking at some good solid point producers yet, some good youth. This is right in the heart of that, round 6 to 10 range where you get a good mix of players. Luther Burden and Brandon Ayuk. He goes back-to-back wide receiver. So leans into the youth in Burden and then some solid veteran play with Ayuk. And Fossboss just sent me an offer. Well, sure, why not? All right, so I just did a trade with Fossboss, getting his 26 first. And let's show you the deal here. I went basically, all right, so this is the trade. Let's bring it down here, and then I'm gonna light up my board. I basically gave up my 803, got Fossboss's next 2 picks, the 911 and 1002. So now I have 4 out of 6 picks there. I gave up my 803 and 1110. So he'll have 2 picks in a row and 3 picks out of 5 in that range. I also got his 1402 and gave him the 1510. Now, in return for moving back, I got his 26 first and I gave up my 26 second. All right. So I mainly I was doing it to get another 26 first, honestly. So now I have 2 26 firsts without my 26 second, but I'll take the extra first there. Okay. All right. So now I won't be picking live, but Matt English is in the clock, so we're going to stay here. And now there we go. Chad, nice trade. Yes. Agreed. Hope you get who you want, Chad. We'll see who's left for you after Matt picks here, if he knows who you're going after. Okay. So, back into sleeper. Let's go. Matt English sitting on 4 wide receivers now in Puka, Rome, Pearsall, and Addison. 2 young quarterbacks in Stroud and McCarthy, and Ashton Genty at running back. So if it was my bet, he might be going running back now. Either way, I gotta figure he's going young. Could go Pickens. He doesn't like George Pickens though. So don't think he'll go that route. Thinking maybe Judy or Dart. I could see Dart. Or Higgins. Higgins for sure, I could see. Yeah. But I think he'd take Dart over Higgins. I don't know. We'll see. Gotta think he's going young, though. Rest of this is getting a little too far down. Okay. Then we got Fossboss who's ready to pick, and Steven is sitting there waiting as well. We'll hang out here for a little bit if we got some picks here. This is always an interesting part of the draft. This is the part where I like to make sure I'm getting value, but at the same time, like I took Joe Mixon because I leaned into the format a little with the 0.2 per carry. But, you know, there's a lot of cheap running backs you can get that 0.2 per carry from as well later on with the way injuries happen. Obviously, they haven't happened in the last year, but if you look at analytics, they say there will be more injuries this year at the running back position because that's historically speaking how it's gone at running back. All right. So again, we're looking at Matt English here, sitting on 4 wide receivers, running back, and 2 quarterbacks, with Colston Loveland easily the most valued player left on the board, but we'll see if he decides to go ahead and lean into the tight end position. Tight ends on the board. You've got Loveland and Kincaid. Some nice young tight ends there. Then Andrews, Pitts, Tucker Kraft. So go to quarterback. We're looking at Dart, Tua, Darnold, A-Rich, and Geno. And then running back, got some old guys, Kamara, Monty, Pacheco. Pacheco not necessarily old, but last year of his rookie contract with the Chiefs. Scattaboo, the rookie, and Brian Robinson. And at wide receiver, which there's a plenty, we've got Pickens, Tyreek, Mike Evans, Judy, and Jaden Higgins. I gotta think Matt's thinking hard on taking Jaden Higgins, but we'll see. It's not an easy call right here, that's for sure. You know, with Luther Burden going off the board, it is time for, the next rookies would be Dart, Higgins, Trey Harris, one of those guys. So, if we put up the rookies only, we've got Loveland, Dart, Scattaboo, Higgins, and Trey Harris all right there, any of which could go. There's not really one that totally stands out. If you look at the value on Keep Trade Cut, it's probably Loveland and Dart, I'm guessing. Higgins and Harris, as well as Scadaboo, not too far behind. That would be what my best guess is there. And then, yeah, got a good mix in young and old at receiver. Pickens, Tyreek, and Mike Evans. Kamara and Scadaboo would be the next running backs. So I wouldn't doubt Higgins here. He's leaning into the wide receivers pretty heavy. And so if you want to build up a positional advantage, that'd be the pick here. Pearsall, of course, his boy from Florida. I am not shocked at all at that pick. But again, he took him right around where he should be taken. No reach there by any means. I guess you could argue he took him ahead of Ayuk, but I mean, really, is Ayuk going to be that healthy this season? Do the Niners even keep him after this year? You know, I could see Pearsall and Juwan Jennings getting some action, so I don't know. Let's go, man. Come on, you're you're right here. Let's see here. He did get the McCarthy and Addison stack, so again, wouldn't be shocked at a pick. Of Jaden Higgins here. Let's go. You know you want it. That's who you want to pick. Oh, man. Well, Chad, you're up next. Who do you think Matt's picking here? Let him have it, chat. Or Chad. I know you're watching. Tell him who to take. Alrighty. Wonder who Chad was eyeing up here at 803. It must have been a couple of players because he did make the move to try and get him a little quicker. Yeah, gotta be Higgins. I agree. He made the move a couple picks early, so he had to have a couple people in mind to make that kind of move. Yeah. So after Foss, we'll have Steve on the clock. Let's see who Steven's looking at. Steven has built up a solid wide receiver room himself. grabbing J-Mo in the last round, so he's got some home run hitters there in Devonta, Zay Flowers, and J-Mo, along with the very solid Nico Collins and Hurts and Purdy at quarterback. So solid build so far for Stephen RBD. But we're all just waiting on Matt here. Come on, Matt. Let's go. Oh, and he goes Kamara. Ooh, throws everybody for a loop. Matt English pulling it off. There it is. Alvin Kamara. All right, so Kamara off the board. So we had Joe Mixon by myself and Alvin Kamara go off the board. We got some old crusty running backs going. All right, so now we are on Foss Boss. And so who is Foss Boss eyeing up with his selection here? Foss Boss sitting on JD and Kyler at quarterback, Marv, Xavier Worthy, and McLaurin. Marv and McLaurin both stacks to his quarterbacks, then Josh Jacobs and Caleb Johnson. So now who is Foss Boss eyeing up here at the 803? His next pick will be at the 903 pick he got from Matt English in an earlier trade. And he grabs Colston Loveland. There it is. Gets his tight end that he was hoping for. All right. Now we go to Stephen RBD, who is sitting in the room. He's ready to make his selection. After that, it'll be Brandon. We'll probably leave after Stephen makes his pick here. Stephen, bring up his squad. Hasn't made a deal yet, so he is right there. Brandon is in the room, so we'll hang tight, as is the Reaper. Since everybody is here, we'll just hope they make their picks somewhat quickly. We'll hang in here and discuss who they should go after. Steven leaning into the wide receivers with Nico, and then the trio of Devonta, Zay Flowers, and J-Mo. Could go wide receiver again and play into that. If he's looking tight end, it would be next up. Let's see here. At tight end, we are looking at the young Dalton Kincaid, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts. Top wide receivers would be Pickens, Tyreek, Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy, or Jaden Higgins, the rookie. At running back, Monty, Pacheco, Scadaboo, Brian Robinson, or DeAndre Swift. And if he wanted to grab his third quarterback, could go Jackson Dart, Tua, Darnold, A-Rich, or Geno. So no stack options at quarterback. Running back, he's got, who's he at? Breece Hall? Yeah, Breece Hall. Quarterbacks, Jalen and Purdy. All right. Who should Steven go with? Anybody got a guess here? Go ahead, throw it in the chat. Plenty of options. again, this is in that middling range here, rounds whatever you want to call it, 6 through 10-ish, I guess, somewhere in there. Yeah. Interesting time of the draft in startups, as they always are. Do you want to go young? Do you want to go old? Do you want to try the mix? We had a mix there with Matt English of Ricky Pearsall and Alvin Kamara. Same with Carlos, going Luther Burden and Brandon Ayuk. There it is, Dalton Kincaid off the board. He gets his first tight end, going with the young side there of Dalton Kincaid. And now it is up to Brandon. For the brand, let's see, Brandon is looking, he's all over the board here, so let's try and bring up his team. Here we go. He is looking at Bowers and Hawkinson, so really leaning into that 0.75 tight end premium. He's got Achane and McCaffrey in the backfield, just CeeDee Lamb at receiver, and then Lawrence and Justin Fields, quarterback. So he's got this pick, and then the 2 picks at the turn still, so he's got, what, 3 out of the next 7, 8, 9 picks. 3 out of the next 9 picks here for Brandon coming up. All right. Interesting stuff here, and then the Reaper is hastily waiting for his selection. I'm sure he's ready to go. Brandon, both Brandons here. The Reaper, Brandon, he has one of the quickest triggers in all of startup drafts. He knows, he has it narrowed down to 2 guys, 3 guys every single time, and he pulls the trigger in a minute tops. So shouldn't have to wait much for the Reaper to make his selection. All right. So Brandon, I'm gonna guess. I'm just gonna guess wide receiver. Which one, I have no idea, but that would be my guess. But obviously, he really could go any position at this point in the draft. It's just going with your best guess of the best value. We've got now Troy entered the building. So if Steve S is ready to go, we could maybe hang out here for a few more minutes. But right now we've got For the Brand on the clock here. And if we look at the draft board, let's bring it up. Bring up the sleeper ADP, I mean. Sleeper ADP overall, we got Pickens on top. 4 wide receivers there, Pickens, Tyreek, Mike Evans, and Jerry Jeudy. Really any of those guys, decent picks. If we slide down a little or go over to the running back position, Monty, Pacheco, Scadaboo, all in the top 100, as well as Brian Robinson and DeAndre Swift, just outside of the top 100. You got Jackson Dart and Tua in the top 100, and at tight end, Mark Andrews in the top 100. So really a lot of good mix of options here. Yeah. All right. My best guess is wide receiver, to try and even out the squad a little bit, but who knows? Not everybody's trying to build an even squad, right? I've always looked at it like kind of my philosophy. It hasn't always worked out for me, but I try to lean into a certain position, but it's just how I look at it. Because if you just build out an even looking squad, well, then you pretty much end up kind of even, and then you're like in 6th or 7th place. I don't know. It's hard to gain an advantage or, you know, how do I put it? Make yourself flexible into making deals if you build your team out too even position wise. Yeah, it's great because maybe you don't have to make any trades then, but I'm always looking for some kind of leverage to have, whether it's in draft capital or at the quarterback position or even at the running back position, wide receiver or tight end here with the 0.75 tight end premium. So I kind of look at it like I want to build around at least one, maybe two positions where I'm really strong at, so that then I can make some deals with other teams who are strong at the position that I'm weaker at right before the season starts. You know, after this, we're near the end of May here. We still have all of June, all of July, and all of August. So literally 3 whole months before kickoff. So that's what kickoff is after Labor Day. So we're probably 100 days out right now from kickoff to the 2025 NFL season. Very exciting stuff, but yet 100 days is a lot of days to make some trades, right? And I want to be leaving myself with the flexibility to make some deals. The worst teams that I have right now are the teams that are literally just either sitting on the doorstep of a rebuild where I'm stuck with like a win now roster, and like I literally just have these assets that nobody will trade you for more than what they're worth, or give you the opportunity to go into a soft rebuild, or, you know, just retool, because all of your guys, it's 100 days away from the season starting. All of your guys are old. They're not scoring points right now. So nobody wants them because they're not going to score any points in the next 3 months, right? Then all of a sudden, September hits, and weeks 1 and 2, they're starting to score points. So then somebody like, you know, I just picked Joe Mixon. Well, I'm not going to be able to trade Joe Mixon for much right now, right? But that's because I took Derrick Henry with 2 picks prior. There it is, Mike Evans going to the brand, goes wide receiver. All right, so as I thought he would go wide receiver. So that follows up nicely with the McCaffrey pick, leaning into more of a win now type team. So McCaffrey and Evans, both guys that score plenty of points right now. All right, now we're on to the Reaper, and boom, as I said, let it take him 10 seconds. George Pickens, yes. Okay, so now the Reaper building up a very strong stable at wide receiver. Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, Jalen Waddle, and George Pickens. Nice and young and scoring points. So, love it. Look at that build from the Reaper. Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield at quarterback, 4 wide receivers, and a nice young stud running back in Quinshon Judkins. I mean, think about this. Like, Quinshon Judkins he took him at the 507, right? Marion Hampton went at the 212. Like, is Judkins really... I mean, what are the odds that Judkins outscores Marion Hampton this season? It's probably like 55-45, right? So, I don't know. I really like where he was able to grab Quinshon Judkins there. All right, now we're on Steve, and I don't know if Steve is ready to pick or not. We'll see. I'll send him a little message because Troy is sitting there waiting. And so we'll see if we can squeeze one more pick out of here, or we'll just... We'll just wrap it up here and call it an evening. But yeah, I'm sure Troy would love to make his pick here soon. Pretty sure Troy's out there on the West Coast. As you can see, Trojan fan, Rams fan. Don't know for sure. Maybe he's listening in. Troy, you can mention where you're from, but you're in a couple other leagues of mine. Very solid competitor in Troy SC. Steve S here, definitely big fan of the show. Big contributor in the Patreon. If you haven't heard, go ahead, join the Patreon. Just $3 a month. Great information in the chat rooms there. You got Steve S, another guy, Hergot. Carlos just joined. We are looking to add more to the Patreon to get a good community going with the feedback that you get out of the Patreon. You also get a free roster review right now, which we'll be doing for Carlos here within the next week. I think Matt and I are going to try and get to it tomorrow morning. If we can, then, and you know, yeah, we're doing a roster review for all of you viewers out there, but really, I mean, if you're in the Patreon, dude, you can ask questions any time of the day, and we'll get back to you very quickly with an answer, with a suggestion. It's more so trying to give you a suggestion for the opportunities. A lot of times you ask a question and there's a lot of different directions you could go. We want to narrow those down for you to like 1 or 2 options, and then you can make the choice, because it is ultimately always your team, not my team, right? Because Lord knows the Birdman is not always right. I'd like to think I am, but not always. All right. I don't know if Steve is awake, so I think we might wrap things up here, and we'll see where we get to in the morning. But I want to thank you all for joining tonight. If you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. I have it right down below in the comments, in the details of the details. So check that out. Enjoy, and I hope you got something out of this for your upcoming startups. It is startup season. So once again, I want to thank you for joining the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our live startup draft. Make sure you remember to never stop working.